And yes, I think it would be much more better.
Okay, I just did an update. That might help too.
Yeah, cool. Perfect. So how are you, Serge?
I'm very fine, and you?
Yeah, I'm also very fine. Here it's 10 in the night, so a little
Yeah,
bit tired, but but very happy to meet you in person.
thank you.
So I think you saw our School of Magic or something. You know that ideal School of Magic, white magic and rainbow magic.
I don't remember that.
You didn't? Okay. We opened this school just 1 year ago, so
Okay.
yeah, it's just online. It's a website because it's my passion and also my partner passion. And we had a nice experience in Quito, in Ecuador,
Oh,
last
good.
year. Yeah, that inspired us to to take this path. And some days ago, I met your videos on YouTube, and I felt a really good connection with you and or with your pantheon. Let's say with everything you bring.
Oh, good.
So I would like to ask you something about your path and how did you meet shamanism or
How did I start with this?
yeah, how?
Well, I started because my father had been adopted by a Hawaiian family when
Hmm.
he was, and he was trained by them in this particular path. And when I was 14,
Yeah.
uh, he offered me this path. Now, we had always done um, different things with the mind, and he taught me a lot about nature from the time I was 11. So it wasn't something brand new,
Hmm.
but he asked me if I wanted to follow it as a path. And yes, I agreed. So I studied with him for 3 years before he passed away. Then I was lost for a while until uh, I was contacted by the same family that had adopted him
Hmm.
and met the man who was his adoptive father, who adopted me as his grandson and turned my training over to first his daughter and then later on his eldest son.
What about your mothers? I mean, your grandmother and your mother too.
They were, how can I put this? They were very much involved and skilled in various kinds of techniques. So this was part of the Italian tradition on their side. My grandmother, one time when I was at her house, taught me how to look into the future by gazing at a spot on a table where the sun shines.
Hmm.
And so a type of clairvoyance.
Yeah, yeah.
But told me you only see good things. So my mother also was very telepathic and um, helped me when I was very young with some healings. Okay? So she was good too. She belonged to an organization that my father had started, but it wasn't the same thing as the shamanism.
Hmm.
So I had that part on my mother's side. You're the first person who has ever asked
Sorry, the first person.
me about my mother's side.
Maybe because I am a mom. So, yeah, I mean the line from fathers is interesting, but yeah, both sides.
That's right. That's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and what's your view about our present times? Because I can see many people, or I don't know if it's because it's the people around me, or it's just something that it's happening in the whole planet, that many people are taking awareness about the norm, that I don't know, like being telepathic may be something normal, or be empath, or being, you know.
It would be nice if that became more normal. It used to be that way all around the world many
It
years
was.
ago, but there's a lot fewer people
Yeah.
who seem to have that interest today.
Hmm.
So we need to, uh, they need to be empowered. They need to be given tools and ideas and techniques for improving their lives and for helping others.
Hmm.
That's the most important thing now, I think.
So do you think we are in the step that we still need to spray techniques in order to
Oh, sure, because what was happening years ago is almost lost.
mhm,
And so, and people need techniques. The knowledge doesn't just come into you and you suddenly know how to do something. I'm very strong about the need for techniques,
mhm.
giving people ways to do something. You don't say go out and be loving, you teach them how to do that. You
Yeah,
don't say
of course.
expand your consciousness, you teach them how to do that. Right.
Yeah, just the fact is just that sometimes I have the impression that creating techniques, or sharing techniques is like a trick.
Oh no,
No,
no, I don't think
not
that
in
at all.
not in the bad way. I mean, not
Even so,
because they
even
don't.
you have to be able to know how to do something.
Yes.
Go out and be loving. How do you do that?
Hmm.
People need some kind of process, simple enough that they can do it themselves, but they still need some kind of process. It's not automatic.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's. I know what you mean. That technique. I know how techniques works. I just wondering. Sometimes I ask myself, but I don't know how to explain. I can see the process of creating the techniques as a tool, like from behind. And sometimes I ask myself, is this just a trick?
No, it's not a trick. This is why, however, because different people need different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
When I teach people many different kinds of techniques.
Wow.
Never one. I want them to have, when they get in a situation where something is needed, I want them to have memories that they can call upon for doing the most appropriate thing in the present moment.
Hmm.
So the more techniques they know as a kind of library, the easier it will be for them to handle problems as they come up.
Hmm. And do you used to create these techniques, or you
Some I
probably.
have modified, some I have created, yes.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
always, the only purpose of the technique is to be able to apply the knowledge.
Yes, of course. Hmm.
Right? That's the purpose.
Yeah. So would you like to share mm, one of the techniques that you create, especially for this purpose, for giving people away?
Well, I'll share it, but it's not like it's going to sound very clear. But there is one of my favorite techniques. It's called the dynamite technique.
Yeah, I read about it. I really appreciated
Good.
the free book that you have online. Um, Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is one that
so
you created.
I created that based on how can I put it? Based on a group of other techniques that we have. I put them all together as one technique.
Hmm.
So, for instance, part of it involves a special type of breathing, which is Hawaiian, which I was taught by my Hawaiian family. Okay? One of the parts has to do with something I realized myself, which is a way of putting the hands together which has no religious symbolism at all, but it helps the person to start to relax. Looks like this. It's a simple touching fingertips, very simple. Then there's, since I am, my work is very much involved with words as a writer, as a psychologist, as a teacher. So I developed a series of statements that would help people very clearly, not affirmations, but statements of acknowledgement, expectation, and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that became part of it, all of it. And then I researched a lot of acupressure, reflexology, lots of different systems that involve touching certain places on the body.
Mm-hmm.
And after experimenting and researching, I wanted to keep it simple, so I found 4 places that could be stimulated by anybody easily and easy to remember, and worked as well as any other group of
like this, and this.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of those are both Hawaiian and Chinese and kinesiology points.
Mm-hmm.
And cover the whole body.
Yeah.
And then, yes, then with all of that together, when they are kind of grouped together like that, they interact and increase each other as far as the effects go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was practicing the 3 steps that you proposed in the Dynamind method with the thoughts, with what I was thinking about something in my life, not just physical. And it was very, very interesting, especially the 3rd point,
Yes.
because you have to the first step is understanding what you have.
Yes.
Tell what you have. The second step is allowing that everything can change.
Yes.
And the 3rd step is make some new statement for changing the direction that you want. And I found that the 3rd step could be challenging. Like formulate clearly what you want. And
when I first tested this, actually it was in Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first tested this technique with a group of people, I made one statement. I have a problem and that can change. I want that problem to go away. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, that's easy. But I was trying to formulate a new statement, not just, because I want this problem to go away. It's easy, but was not so, come si dice?
Satisfying.
Yeah, not so gratified.
But however, on that first workshop, it worked well for everybody.
Mm-mm.
And then since then, I help people learn how to phrase it more specifically for their problems.
Yeah, yes, of course. And so what was your best training during your path?
I don't know what you mean.
The best experiences that you had during your training path as a shaman, if you want to share some.
It was a long path, and there were all kinds of experiences.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I wouldn't be able to put one on top of all the others. There were just many, many kinds of experiences, both in helping myself and in helping other people.
Yeah.
As a shaman, I will mention one, might be interesting.
Yeah.
What a shaman does is something called, usually people call it soul retrieval,
Mm-hmm.
where the shaman goes takes a journey into another world and finds the lost part of a person who is suffering from something. So I did this for my grandson, who was born with many serious physical difficulties. Some of his organs were even on the outside of his body.
Mm-hmm.
It would look close like he might not continue. So I did a journey, went to find his, in my inner world, a representation of his spirit, the part that was still not sure about whether he wanted to be born or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him about all the fun things you could do in life, especially right at the beginning. At the time, I was doing a lot of video games. And so I talked to him how much fun video games were. So the upshot of it was, after my journey, he survived. The surgeries were successful, and he grew into a very handsome, likable boy. Okay? He also became a 65th level video gamer. So I had never talked to him directly about it, but on his own, that's what he began to do. And he was very, very good.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So you have a real passion for video games.
I did, yes. I don't have time, but I did.
Yeah.
That was something I had to explore.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking the virtual reality where you do the meeting of Aloha Project. Yeah, but I just download the program and look at it for 5 minutes, but I didn't realize how it works really. So it will take time for me. But it's very nice because, I mean, the idea also to have a virtual reality in the physical world is very interesting for a shamanic viewpoint, also from mine.
Right.
Yeah. And also, my partner is a very passionate role play gamer.
Role playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was a dungeon master for the neighborhood boys in high school.
Yeah. And I see how these help him to be very connected with the spiritual world.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Because it was a whole new type of thing. And I remember watching my children play one time. It started with a dinner table. So we were at the dinner table, and I heard them telling stories about what they had done that day. Oh yeah, when I climbed the tower and I killed the man. We're talking like they had read it or played a video game, and we're talking like it was a real experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That intrigued me, and then I discovered what they were really doing and asked them if I could join. And then, because I have a big background in fantasy and science fiction, we played for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Every week, about anywhere between 4 and 7 boys would come over to the house on the weekends, and we'd go into all these fantastic adventures in the world.
Yeah, and his friends are always speaking. That time that I did this, that I was this animal, and they are really speaking about that. They really live the sensations and emotions. So yeah, nice to hear that from you too.
Good training. Good training. I have to tell you one thing that happened. One of the boys, his character was a magician.
Yeah.
So he got chicken pox.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to stay home. But the other boys made a microphone with wires that went from our yard through another yard into his window so that he could still play the game with us. That's how serious they were. But the main thing was, he's lying there at night, and he says, this is how he told us. He said, wait a minute, I'm a magician. So I order these spots to fly off my body and stick to the ceiling. And he thought that was fun. So we went to sleep. Woke up in the morning and it was no more chicken pox. It was all gone. He had done them himself because of that experience of working in the inner world.
Yeah, I can totally believe. I'm not so expert in playing games, but I have other kind of very easy connection, like nature, for example. Last some months ago, I had dengue. We were in Peru, and I get fever and everything very hard for 3 days, more or less. I couldn't even stand up, but like the 4th day I felt a strong wish to go to the Amazon river, because it was just there, like 5 minutes walking or less, even if I felt very sick. And I walked slowly and I arrived near the river and I sat down. I was relaxing just 1 minute, listening to the frogs singing, and everything, like all the heaviness went away, and I saw a beautiful image of a lady, like a river, speaking to me, and was incredible. Like 1 minute or 2 minutes of flying opening, and I stand up and I was completely healed. I turn back to Rogero, to my partner, and I say, "Oh, I'm good." And he, what good? No, you have to stay in the bed. No, I'm good, I really feel good.
Beautiful.
Was healed. Yeah, the fact is that I did not do nothing. I feel like I did not do nothing, but the connection with nature to me is the key.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but still I don't know how to create a technique for sharing this connection or this ability that I have with people. So I was trying different techniques from different sides that resonate to me, but I still don't have mine.
Okay. Sometimes what I will do when I have an experience is I will go back and, with the nature of my mind, I will analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I analyze it in detail, then I can create ways of making that happen.
Yeah. Creating it again.
Yeah.
That's good suggestion. I will try.
Good.
Thank you. Do you use the tambour, the shamanic drum? Do you use the shamanic drum?
That's not Hawaiian tradition.
No. Oh, okay.
It's also, it's a Mongolian tradition.
Yeah, because I read somewhere that every shaman in every place of the world. No, but it's not true. Okay.
Lots of shamans around the world that don't use drums.
No.
And I was actually, I was in Peru and I met different kinds of shamans there. Some of them didn't use drums at all.
Mm-hmm. Do you use music?
For the culture. Okay. Same thing in Africa. Some tribes use drums, their shamans do. Some tribes they don't. Okay, so it all depends. What I learned in Mongolia was that they do not use the drum to go into trance.
Mm-hmm.
They go into trance, and then use the drum to simulate the hoofbeats of the horse that they ride in the other world. Okay. So a lot of people think they're using the drum to go into trance, and that's not so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that, and I also experienced something similar to using the noise of the drum just to make the air resonating higher, in a higher vibration, something like that.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And do you use some kind of music?
I wouldn't say I would use it because I don't need it. I might use it because I want to. Yeah. In a particular situation, but it's not like it has to be done.
Yeah, of course. I just know if there is some relation with music and Hawaiian shamanism.
I would say no, not a direct relationship. Hawaiians love music.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that the missionaries brought them, because before the missionaries came, they only had about a 4-note scale for chanting.
Yes.
Then when they heard the missionaries who created this harmony and these longer notes, oh, the Hawaiians went wild, and then adopted that and created their own style of music.
Wow. Yeah. I will check. I don't know nothing about Hawaiian music.
Oh boy, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's lots of different kinds to it.
Yeah. Okay. So something more that you want to share with people that may look this video, that I think will be mainly from Europe, probably?
Well, okay, some will know what I'm going to say and some might not. But when I was taught this knowledge by my uncle, he taught me the more intellectual side of it. And he told me about 7 ideas that he gave me the Hawaiian words for. And when I began to teach, in order to teach mostly Western people, I put them in a particular order to make it easier for people to remember and to learn. Because we get together, he and I, and he'd just bring up one when he felt like it. But there were these 7 ideas that have become the basis for what we call the Huna philosophy. So I'll just name them briefly. First is that the world is what you think it is. And this means that you're going to look at the world and you're going to have your beliefs and you're going to have your filters and you're going to have your ideas, and that's how you're going to interpret your world. And that's how you're going to experience your world. And so the idea is that you can change how you think. And when you change how you think, your experience changes. The second one says there are no limits. Well, in order to have an experience, you have to create limits. But essentially, there are no limits. So you can, here we talk about the rules that you make about yourself and about life. You can change the rules because there really are no limits. You can make rules, live by them if you want to, but that's not fixed. That's up to you. If you want to change your life, you can change your rules. Next one says that energy flows where attention goes. So your energy, and you can even draw in the energy of other people around you when you focus your attention on something. Well, you have to look at that too, because if what you're having in your life isn't what you want, change your focus. And you'll create new experience. One very important one, I mean, they're all important, but one of them is that now is the moment of power. You cannot do anything yesterday. You can't do anything tomorrow. The past isn't holding you back, and the future is not out there waiting for you to bump into it. Now is all there is. You can change the effects of the past by changing either the memories or your reaction to them. You can change what happens in the future by changing your expectations. You do that now. Then there's one that says, this is based on the word aloha, that to love is to be happy with someone or something. That's what love is. There's nothing bad or ugly or anything. Jealousy is not love, not a sign of love. It's a sign of fear and anger. Love is the happy part of a relationship. And so part of that is also sharing that, because that comes into the word aloha too. Okay? And so increase your love. And this will increase the goodness in your life. There's the next one, which says all power comes from within. Everything has power. So learning how to increase This is power to do something, not power over anything. So increase your power. What I recommend, you increase your power to help empower other people.
Mm-hmm.
That increases your power at the same time, your power to help. Then the last one is that effectiveness is the measure of truth. Now, at first, that bothers people when they first hear it. And in this knowledge, in Hawaiian culture, truth is what works. We have here, I'm in Hawaii right now. This is on a Wednesday. It's the 2nd of October, but not really. Say that because it's convenient.
Yeah, of course.
We act like it's true. But it's only one calendar out of hundreds and one date and time system. But it's so effective that we act like it's true, and that works for us. That's why we're able to meet at this time together.
Yeah.
So even though you are in about 10:20 p.m. in Rome, and I am in 10:20 a.m. in Hawaii, here we are.
We are here in the power moment.
That's right. So these are the 7 ideas that we teach by, we live by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a kind of institution, or?
Yes, we have an organization called Huna International.
Yeah. And you mainly work in Hawaii?
Well, no, we work all around the world. We have people who we consider our staff all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do their work of teaching and helping and healing, and, sharing this knowledge with everyone they can. And
did they?
So it's a worldwide thing. This is simply our, in fact, we don't say headquarters, we say headquarters.
Yeah. Did they learn from you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, to be on the staff, had to learn from me.
Mm-hmm.
Someday when I'm gone, I'll have to pick somebody, but before I go, I'll have to pick someone else to take that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have one last question about your kind of shamanism, which is the relation or the use that you have with the ancestors.
Yes.
Do you have some special?
We come from the ancestors.
Yeah, of course. But you have some rituals or celebration, or I don't know.
The ancestors are with us all the time. In their physical form, we can call them DNA. In their spiritual form, they're around us, and we can communicate with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So you communicate with them just with all the other spirits.
Yes, right. I mean, they're part of the family.
And what about the, how you say, the people that came after you?
What about them? They don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Not in this reality. I meet them in dreams sometimes, but they don't exist here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thank you. So you don't consider them as for communication?
Oh yes, if I go into the inner world, sure, because they live in what we might think of as a parallel world,
mm-hmm.
and not always strongly connected to this particular one I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Where the ancestors, we share a lot of memories.
Yes, of course.
And where the descendants, we have no idea unless we go visiting in another world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
I will try to understand how the virtual reality works for joining you sometimes.
Okay, good. Aloha to you.
Aloha. Ciao.